All right, Coach. You had a pretty cushy job at ESPN as an analyst.
You think?
Yeah, exactly.
Lifetime contract?
Exactly. You were 100% as far as winning percentage. You had no losses. Why would you leave that environment and come and coach here at ASU? Aside from your relationship with Ray Anderson, why would you leave that environment to come back and coach here at ASU in particular?
Well, a couple things. I wasn't making a difference in young people's lives. And when you get in this coaching profession, you realize that. When you step away from it, you're still coaching. You just coach the masses. You don't per se coach a team. It had to be the right fit for me in a lot of ways. And it started with this university. We were simple. It started with Dr. Crow, the vision he had when he first arrived here. Along with Ray's vision and meeting with those two gentlemen, obviously, it was very crystal clear to me that they were on the same path that I was on and developing a complete student athlete. And I say that student athlete, very important in the fact that most of the men you touch, their football careers will end here and they will get on with their days, with their life's work. With that being said, what are the things you're going to teach them playing the game of football that will carry over into their life? And that's very important. I've always felt that way, even when I was in pro football, dealing with players. And so to me, this was a perfect storm per se, and this is why I'm sitting in the seat.
You say the vision. Can you get more in detail as to what is that vision that ASU is on the path towards, and your vision as well, and how do they coincide?
Well, I think the first thing that coincides is your ability to lead, and what does that mean? It's a service position. You know, leaders are people that serve others. They don't serve you, and I think that's the mindset of Dr. Crow. Next vision is very, very simple, is to make sure that athletes or any student that attends this university leaves with an overall feeling that they have completed themselves and hopefully have found their passion. You know, you have to find out what you want to do in life. You have to find out your purpose. And I think when you go to certain universities, you go there to get a degree, but what is really your purpose in life? And I think with those things being said, I think that's kind of the mindset of this place. They want to build future leaders when you graduate from it. Whether you're a student athlete, whether you're a student, you know, what is your purpose? Can we help you find your purpose? And then from there, it's up to you to take that road and travel it.
Why has education been so important to you?
Well, for me, I was the first graduate of our family. My father joined the Army when he was about 18 years old. My mom was a German war bride, so I was the first person in our home to receive a college degree. It was very important in the fact that I knew growing up that the only way I was going to get out of my situation was through athletics. And I learned at a very young age, and I say this to players all the time, sports, whatever sport you decide to play, can be your vehicle. Now, what you have to realize is you have to use sports to your best interest. Don't let sports use you. There's this common marriage of athlete and sports. You need to have sports as your vehicle. It can't be the end-all, be-all. And what can you achieve from being an athlete? Well, first of all, you have the ability to get an education paid for because of your athletic ability. Well, use that to your advantage.
One of your players, the potential starter at quarterback, Miriam Wilkins, is taking advantage of that educational situation in the ASU Sports Business Law program. How does that benefit him as a player and as a person? And have you talked to him about, you know, his role on the team, not only as an athlete, but as a student athlete as well?
Well, it's going to benefit him tremendously because this game, you know, you play this game with your mind and your body. Eventually, your body says, it's enough. I can't play any longer. Your mind is good as, you know, as long as you live on this earth. And he realizes that, and he's completed himself, and he's completed the whole circle. He's going to extend his football career as long as he can extend it. But when it ends, and we don't know when it ends, you don't get to pick when it ends when you're an athlete. It just ends one day. He will still have the mental faculties to go on with his life and do whatever he wants. If he obtains a law degree and work in his second career. You know, football is your first career if you're fortunate enough to leave college and go in the National Football League. I was very fortunate. If you'd have told me I was going to be in the National Football League for 30 years, I would have said, really, I'll take that. With that being said, I still have a degree, and that's one of my proudest possessions that I have is my degree.
And how unique is the program here? I've covered a lot of different colleges and seen a lot of different college athletes, but how unique is this program here at ASU that does offer the opportunities to study law, to study sports business, and also the concept of the global sports initiative that this school has taken on?
Well, it's taken on, in my opinion, and I grew up on the West Coast, it's taken on the Stanford approach, if you really want to boil it down. to it, and if you think, and Dr. Crow understands that, and you know, when you think about this university, and I know this because they recruited me as an athlete. Coach Cush recruited me. This was quote unquote the party university when I was growing up. This was the place to go. That stigma is long gone, and it's become one of the most diverse campuses in the country. That has a lot to do with the vision of Dr. Crow. And so I think as you continue to follow this university and the growth that it's taken, 60,000 students. So I mean, this is a massive undertaking by not only Dr. Crow, but the faculty members and just the approach that this university has taken.
And you talk about the approach. The university has a structure somewhat maybe similar to that of the NFL, in which you have a general manager, you have the coach. How much has this new model taken some of those responsibilities away from you, like the administrative part?
Well,
it's freed you up to do other things.
Well, it helps you because there's a single focus, and no different than the NFL model. And Ray has been in there for quite some time before he obviously came to college. I was involved in it. And so I think now when you look at us, we have that pro model, and it's basically, you want to say an owner, a GM, and a head coach. You can call me the CEO. But with that being said, I delegate things, but I still have to make all the decisions when it comes to football and make sure those decisions are in line with Mr. Anderson and obviously Dr. Crow, and they have been. And I think as you see us going forward, the type of athletes we're trying to bring in here, twofold, they're student athletes. And I can't say that enough, they're student athletes. And that's important. They have an obligation to this university in the classroom, and then from there, they have an obligation and a standard they have to meet when they're when they're on the field playing as an athlete representing this university.
You've played on the college level, coached on the college level, played on the professional level as well as coached on the professional level. Have athletes changed since then? Do you have to appeal to them differently today, considering that you've got so much involved, like technology, you've got the social media, you've got all these different AAU ball, and athletes are a little more put up on a pedestal in different ways than when you were playing?
Well, for me, they multitask. And another thing too now, athletes in today's world have been under the spotlight. It becomes a norm from them. Growing up for me, watching athletes, you wanted to be on television. Now they're on television in high school. They get it. The pressure of being an athlete is not so intense for them anymore because it's been a part of their life, at a young age. And so that's one thing that's different. The next thing I think that's kind of different for me when you watch them, as they multitask, you have to teach them a little bit different now. The old days, you'd walk in a classroom like this and you might sit in there 45 minutes. Well, you can't do that anymore. I mean, after about every 15 minutes or so, according to what group you coach, you got to get them up. You got to change the method of how you coach. Now, athletes still want this. Can you give them the ability to become efficient at what they do? In other words, how do you coach them in the classroom? How does that project on the field? They all learn different. Athletes still want to maximize their talent. No coach can give them talent. No coach in the history of coaching has ever given an athlete talent. That's a God-given gift. But what you can do is make sure they maximize their talent through the fundamentals that are required for them to play the position.
You've got a motto coming in here: words and
actions.
Words and actions. What does that mean?
Very simple. And I think if we would take that just literally and think about what does that mean, it's a real simple term, but there's a lot of meaning behind it. Do your words and your actions match up? Not sometimes, all the time. It's called integrity. It's called integrity. And eventually what we do in the dark comes to the light. It just does. And I thought I would tell the players that in the fact that, look, if you cannot back up your actions, you say it, and you don't back it up, there's a misinterpretation of who you are. And I said, if we can live a life where our words and our actions matched up, it would probably be, it would be simple. Is it hard to do? Very hard to do. But that's life, isn't it? I mean, what comes out of your mouth, are your actions meeting your words? And it's very, very unique. You know, it's not real hard to figure out. Words and actions, do they match up? Not just sometimes. Not when you're comfortable. Not when it's a good day. Not on Sundays. You run to church, and then Mondays through Saturdays, you're asking forgiveness when you go back to church. No, they got to match up every day. Is it hard? It's hard. But when you can do that, people respect you. They can trust you. You earn that by your words and actions.
Now, coaching on Sundays, you're coaching men.
Yeah.
Guys are getting paid, putting food on the table. Coaching guys on Saturday, a little bit different. What has been the response with that approach you just told me about that comes from your NFL experience, translated to the college game and college players? You've only been here basically, what, a couple of months? You've had the spring
December.
ball.
Yeah.
So how is that translated and the response has been from the players?
It starts with their head coach. It starts with me. They watch everything I do. And if I don't live up to those standards, shame on me. And if I can continue to live up to those standards, which I think I do every day, then they say this is the example. You know, when you're put in a leadership position, and I have a few guys on the leadership committee, I told them, look, it's real simple. You serve the masses. They don't serve you. And I say, what's critical is this when you're a leader. Leaders don't want to be liked. They do not want to be liked. They want to be respected. Well, you got to earn that. It's earned. It's earned by your actions and your words every day. They might not always agree with you, but they say, you know what? There's some consistency with this guy. And people want consistency. They want someone, when they look at him, they go, I know what I'm getting. That's all the player wants. The player doesn't want gray area. They want to know, Coach, how can I get better? How can you help me improve? That's what they want to know. And if you're consistent with your words and your actions, they'll follow you.
Speed of consistency. Not only have you transferred that to the players, but also your coaches. Antonio Pierce, I've covered him and know him from his days with the Washington Redskins as well as the New York Giants. He was a model of consistency, a leader when it came down to the defense. How do you take that approach to your coaches, to developing coaches and hiring coaches?
Well, same thing. The first thing I wanted to make sure I did was surround myself with guys that had passion for the game of football, but also that were good men, good fathers, good leaders. That was very important because when these doors close individually, collectively, I cannot be in every room. So your coaches have to share your vision with the players they coach. There's a trust factor in that. When you sit here as a head coach and you delegate things to your coaching staff, you have one message. Now, it might be explained to players a little bit different in every room, but the message is consistent. And this is why it was very, very important for me to hire a staff that when these doors close, the message was being sent.
And speaking of leader and showing the troops how the leader operates, you're up every morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, working out. That sets the example for the troops.
Well, I'm all about setting examples because, the most powerful possession you ever own when you grow up and you figure it out is your last name. That's the most powerful possession you can ever own. You can't pay for it. You can't buy it. It's inherited. It's handed down from generation. And when you think about that, what will people say when they mention your name?
Who would you want people to say?
That hopefully I'm a man of integrity. And that this game of football that I've been involved with, if you want to go all the way back to high school and college, 40 years, that I've always honored the game. I am an ambassador for the game of football. I am honored to sit in this seat and be the head coach of the Arizona State Sun Devils. With that being said, players and coaches alike know that there's one thing that I will hold them accountable for when they coach this game, that it's coached and played right. It has to be coached and played right. That's the most important thing. We have to honor the game and make it better for the next generation of coaches and players that follow us. And if they don't understand that, they will not walk into that stadium as a football coach or a football player.
It seems as though a lot of what I hear from you is a product of your father being in the military. Is that safe to say?
There was a line of demarcation. There was always a task that needed to be looked at and found out how do you complete the task. There was always discipline. There was always a rank and file of how you went about things. And I kind of live my life that way. Look, my life's not very complicated at all. And I tell this to players all the time, and people as well. I say, what are your priorities? What are your values? What is your value system? Because you can't compromise that. I won't compromise my values. My values are very simple. My priorities. It's God, it's my family, and my occupation. So there's no figuring out who I am. That's who I am, and I won't trade that for anything. Because that's what I say I am. Now I gotta walk my life that way every day. And is it hard? It's hard, but you know what? I want to be different. I don't want to be a follower. Because you look at the same view all the time. You're looking at somebody's backside. I'm not afraid to take the lead. That doesn't bother me. I'm okay with that. Because I'm okay with who I am. I've learned this at a very young age. If you're not willing to bet on yourself, who else will? I'm going to bet on me every time.
Social media, we touched on that earlier. You've seen the stories. Players tweeting, players Facebooking, pictures, inappropriate pictures or tweets or whatever. What have you told your team regarding this issue?
Don't press send. It's your resume. It's a resume for the rest of your life. Don't press send. I said it 10 years ago on television, live on television. Took the phone out, don't press send. Don't do it. Just don't, leave it alone. It's your resume. And especially in today's world, when you go apply for a job, any corporation, even in football, when you go to the combine, they have everything you've done on the phone, they have it. And they say, is this you? You can't take it back. It's out there. And so you have to be very careful. It's a powerful tool. There's no doubt. There's a lot of good in it, and there's a lot of not so good in it. When you press it, it's out there. And that becomes a part of your resume.
Sounds great.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.